guys, hope you're doing well. Today I'm going to talk to you about perception. In my coaching training, one of the things that I learned is that one concept actually that we repeat ourselves over and over again was everybody is right according to their own perception. So everybody is right according to the way they saw the situation. I remember listening to a TV show where they actually staged a situation where a person was getting robbed, and they asked people. There was about 10 people that looked at the situation, the event, and then they asked all kinds of questions. You know, what the person that got robbed, what was she wearing, and what happened exactly, and the way you perceived it. And everybody had their own way of seeing it. And it went up to the court because some of them were really convinced that this was exactly the way it happened. And then and during the process, actually, there was an actor amongst the person at the court that his role was to influence, to see if he could influence the conviction that people had about what happened exactly, and what kind of people it was. Like, was he tall and short, and what was he wearing, and the person that got robbed, was he a woman, a man, and things like that. And actually what they saw and what happened at the end is they actually showed the actual event. So everybody was able to look at it. And what happened basically is that it was not at all the way the way people perceive it and the way people express it, and we're very convinced that that's the way it happened. It was not. Like, all details were mixed up. So it was not exactly the way it happens. And that's how our brain works. Our brain has the tendency to select some information, to distort some information, and to generalize some information according to the data that we already have registered in our brain, in our unconscious mind. And I did actually experience it on a regular basis, because at the beginning, when people were coming to me and telling me about something like a situation, whether a customer just called, and then they would come with emotions, and oh my god, Nancy, this customer calling, he was very not happy, and this and that, and I think he's gonna leave, and I used to take it really personally and feel bad about it, and then react right away. To discover that, you know, when I would talk to the dentist, the way it was presented to me was not exactly the way that it happened. So I did understand, and I did became understood that any time a person will express something to me, it was not exactly the reality. So your perception makes sense to you. It does make sense to you. But it doesn't mean that it is the reality. If something happened, like a situation happened with a coworker, for example, and let's say that, you know, he said something and you felt insulted. Okay? So you have the perception that this person insulted you. You're right in your way of seeing things. Now, is it possible that it was not the intention? Is it possible that even with the words that the person used, it was not in the intention, or for another person, that other person would not have felt insulted? Is it possible? When you feel negative about a situation, this is a wonderful question that you can ask yourself to reframe your perception, because it is proven that most of the time our perception can be wrong. meaning that we can perceive it negatively, because especially if we are in a negative process, negative thinking process the majority of the time. So we may have the tendency to see things, to perceive things in a negative way. But ask yourself this question: is it possible that this is not exactly the way it happened? Is it possible that this person did not have the intention to hurt you? Is it possible that this person did not use exactly the words that you're using right now? And this I know for a fact, because when I give my training, I gave a course, for example, I always ask at the end, I ask people, how did you understood? Say, tell me how you understood the concept that I presented to you. And I can say the majority of the time, people will express a perception the way they understood the training and the subject that we talked about. But they're not using my words. They're using their words. So the way our brain works is that we capture the information and we form our own perception according to our belief system, according to our thinking system, according to our personality, according to our past experiences, according to the vocabulary that we use on a regular basis. So we're gonna get the information and we're gonna express it the way we perceive it. Now, it doesn't mean that the way we perceive it, it's exactly the way it happens. So in a conflict situation, what I ask people is, what I tell people is, you are right in the way you perceive it according to your own perception. Now, the other person is also right the way they perceive it according to their perception. So now is we have to listen to the other person's perception in order to understand and in order to feel better and come up with a common ground of, okay, from now on, what are we going to do about it so that we don't feel hurt when we hear those words or when we see this type of situation. So the concept of perception is really, really important to take into consideration because it does apply in all aspects of our lives. Everything you hear on TV, everything you hear on the radio, everybody that tells you a story, first thing that should come up in your mind, this is their perception. It's not necessarily the reality. So you can investigate a little bit more to make your own perception so that it's good. We want to have positive perception about ourselves and positive perception about the people that we work with, because otherwise we stay stuck into anxiety, into fear, into doubt, into criticism, into negative energy. Make sense to you? Cool. See you next time.